Welcome, everyone. This is the next episode discussion on Book of Boba Fett. This is episode 6. From the Desert Comes the Stranger. So this one is directed by Dave Filoni and written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So two writers this time. And once again, I am joined my fellow State of Star Wars member, leader.
General CJG here, as always.
Yep. And we also have another member rejoining us again.
Yep, it's CGR-95. Nice to be back again.
Yep, absolutely. And so, before we get into the discussion and before we get right into our thoughts of this episode, I have to give this disclaimer out, and I have to start this right now. I have to get into a mini rant. I apologize. So,
It's all
if
right.
you're looking for positive reinforcement regarding everything that you loved about episode 6, I'm gonna be first start off by saying no, you're not going to find it here, especially with me. I'm going to be a lot more critical of this episode. I know the other guys are probably going to be less critical than me, but it has to be said. So, first off, I fucking called it that this would be a filler episode, not much action, and setting up for the big fight for the next episode. So, I fucking called that shit.
Bravo on that one. Somehow you called it.
I
Yep,
know.
yep. I fucking knew it. So that happened in here, and once again, it focuses on the perspective of somebody else that is returning once again. So this episode really shows off that if you love TCW, if you love Rebels, if you really love the Mandalorian TV shows, you're gonna love every minute of this. However, if you're somebody who's looking for really awesome, like Boba Fett something focused on Boba Fett, you're not going to find it with this episode. Literally less than a minute is focused on Boba Fett, which is an effing joke. And I get it that Boba Fett himself is not a super interesting character at this point, but it's called Book of Boba Fett for a reason. It's a limited run, and you have to focus on him. You're not going to have Boba Fett returning with another Book of Boba Fett season 2 because I do think this show is kind of a failure at this point. I don't think the numbers speak for itself. Only because these last two episodes, because it's really focusing on Mando. But this is not his TV show, so he pretty much hijacked this show. That's why the numbers are up, I'm pretty sure. So you pretty much said that a big FU to Boba Fett fans with how they wrote his character and how they limited his character in every single way. And the next episode is going to be hopefully focusing on Boba Fett, though I highly doubt at this point. So you're pretty much seeing 5 episodes, 5 out of 7 episodes on Boba Fett on the
and
limited run.
and one of them sucked balls. So in reality, it's just four.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see about the last episode, but I am just a little upset at this point on this whole thing that they're trying to do, setting up for future shows instead of focusing on goddamn Boba Fett, which I'm freaking like. That's what I'm watching the show for, not for these other characters. I'm here for Boba Fett, and so far we're not getting it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it for my little mini rant. But I'll let you, CJ, go get into your thoughts of this episode.
Okay, so I'll keep it short because I do have a similar rant, similar thoughts to the Django, but I want to keep it until the end because I do actually want to, well, obviously discuss what the episode as a whole does. So that's why I'm not going to get too much into it. But I'll say a summarized version that this episode is awesome, it's great, but it pretty much shows that this show is a complete failure. It confirms to me that it's an absolute failure. That this show is pretty much, yeah, it's a failure. It failed to fulfill its focus from that it set up from the very beginning, and it pretty much failed in convincing audiences to stick with Boba Fett. At this point, they're more interested in what Din Djarin is gonna do. They're more interested on seeing certain characters that we saw in this episode compared to Boba Fett. They care about anyone but Boba Fett himself in his own show. And that is a failure. When the main character of the show is so uninteresting that you don't really care about following him in his own show, you failed. And this show failed. So, yeah, that's my summarized versions. I'll get into spoilers as to why people consider this episode one of the best. So, we'll get into that. So, yeah, but that's my thoughts. So, yeah, Clint?
I would absolutely agree with you both. Yeah, now keep in mind, this episode is good. It's a really awesome episode. However, I do agree with them that these past two episodes have more felt like Mandalorian season 3 more than Book of Boba Fett. And I gotta say, that's probably now while I do now also do keep in mind, I do like this show. But however, I do also have my problems and criticisms with this show as well. Just because I like and praise the show doesn't mean I don't still have my problems. And now, when it comes to it, this is a big problem. This is like a big problem I have, and a disappointment as well, is that the show isn't really about Boba Fett. At least with these past two episodes, at least it hasn't been. And honestly, it's kind of just like cheap, I guess. I guess cheap is the word I'm gonna go with, I guess I can say. That's like, okay, we're just gonna like not have the show be about Boba for these next two episodes, and that's just what's gonna make them the more better episodes per se. Or something like that. Yeah. And yeah, those are my thoughts, I guess.
Okay. Well, with that out of the way, so the Django, shall we get into the summary of what happens in this episode?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, if you like this episode, that's fine. I mean, that's perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with liking or hating anything. We're all, human at the end of the day. We all like different things. We all dislike different things.
Yeah,
So
precisely.
it's fine. It's not a big
Mm-hmm.
deal. So let's get right into this. So it starts with the Pikes making a deal. And we get a surprise appearance of Cobb Vanth, returning from the Mandalorian, and appears and tells them to leave. He's the marshal. He tells them to leave, and they try to fire at him. And because he's a quick shooter, he easily shoots them down, which is awesome. And tells one of them to send a message to the Pikes, and you can take the credits, but leave the spice. And one of them remarks that the spice is worth more than your town, but he tells them just leave the spice. And then Cobb dumps the spice on the ground. So we start our episode with a bang right there. And I have to admit, like, I have my problems with this episode overall, but I have to say the first 5 minutes, for me personally, I enjoyed quite a lot the most. But as we go along, there's going to be a lot of more surprises here and there. But I do like where it starts from here.
Yeah, like Cobb Banff and what we see with him in Tatooine, that's not a problem, and we'll get to later why it's not a problem. Like, well, I'll say what the problem is later on, loss of focus to be precise. But we'll get into it later because I don't want to get to it yet. But Clint, what do you think of this beginning?
It was a pretty good start, not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. So the jungle. Let's go next.
Okay. So then we go focus on the perspective of Mando as he gets out of hyperspace and wants to see Grogu. And as he lands on the planet's surface, R2-D2 is there to see him. And he takes him to a temple being formed by droids. And I think this is the temple that I think Luke was in from episode.
It's the Last Jedi.
Yeah, Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
So, yeah. And then eventually R2 shuts down and Mando is forced to wait for, I guess, them to appear or something to happen. Then we go to Grogu, who meditates with Luke. And of course, Grogu gets distracted by a frog. And we see the look of Luke. And I have to say, the CGI for Luke's face is remarkable. It's fantastic throughout this whole entire episode. And usually it's pretty obvious with deepfakes and actually doing the animation for people's faces because it's really hard to do. This is some of the best I have ever seen. I mean, because he is in this episode for a long time, and they really nailed it. I felt like in Mandalorian it was fine. I did see some problems and I didn't think it was perfect, but this, I loved it. I thought it was perfect.
You want to know a fun fact about that, the Django? Well,
Oh,
apparently, when Mando Season 2 came out, some Star Wars YouTuber actually made like a
oh yeah, I did
CGI
see
of his
that.
own on
Yeah.
YouTube. And turns out that Lucasfilm hired that guy, and he's the one making the CGI in this episode.
Really?
Oh,
That's
really?
Yeah.
amazing.
That is
Yep.
cool.
Mm-hmm. So the same guy that made that video is the one doing it for Lucasfilm itself. So that's why it looks this
Wow.
good.
Nice.
That is incredible. I did not know that. That
Me neither.
big difference right there. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense now. Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
there you
All
go.
right. So anyway, we'll just move on from there. But I love the Luke CGI. I must say, fantastic. So Luke notices that Grogu is distracted by the frogs. Then he levitates a bunch of frogs, and Luke tells Grogu of Yoda, and asks if Grogu would like to remember his home and his past. And we see a vision of Jedi fighting during the Order 66 event being cut down by clone troopers.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think this event is key because I think this will connect with the Kenobi TV series.
Mm.
But I thought it was a pretty important vision for Grogu to connect with Kenobi in some way.
Hmm. Kenobi. What do you think, Kenobi?
I mean, just because I think Order 66 was a pretty big event, and I think you'll see visions of that throughout in that TV series, and I have a feeling that Grogu might appear in one of those visions that Grogu and Kenobi might like interact or something, and they might have like I think Kenobi was probably trying to save Grogu in some way, or something happened, and they got separated. But I feel like he's a key factor in there.
I don't think it's Kenobi because if you remember the Order 66 when the clones were destroying the Jedi at night, that was when Obi-Wan was still in Utapau. So it has to be somebody else that took Grogu out of the Jedi Temple. So that's why once Obi-Wan and Yoda arrived on the Jedi Temple in Coruscant, it was already daylight and most of the Jedi were already dead. It
Oh yeah,
has to be
that's right.
another Jedi of sorts for that to happen. So there's that. There is stuff that we could see from War 66 in Kenobi, but I don't think it would be. But I don't think it will be that Obi Wan was the one saving Grogu. Maybe we'll get the reveal of a character or something that did save Grogu in that TV show. Like maybe that character shows up to Obi Wan or something in Tatooine. Who knows? Like that could
Mm.
happen. So who knows about that? So yeah. Anyway, so finish off with that part, Django. That scene.
Okay. Okay. So, Ahsoka then appears and she greets Mando and asks, like, what are you doing here? And that's the same thing I'm asking Mando, like, what are you doing here? But Grogu, we find out important information where Grogu will end up being Luke's first student for the Jedi Academy, which is pretty interesting. So Ahsoka walks with Mando and they start talking and they say that she says, "Are you doing this for Grogu or for yourself?" And Mando's thinking that Grogu is a Mandalorian foundling, but clearly not with the Jedi. And I have problems with this thing with Mando bringing going back to this Grogu thing because I think Mando is weakening Grogu on his path to become a Jedi and Mando's belief in himself because I think Grogu is weakening him too. And I think Ahsoka echoes this. And Mando actually ends up giving the armor to Ahsoka to be delivered to Grogu later on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could definitely agree with that. Yeah. So
yeah, that's just my opinion.
mhm. I could agree with that. Yeah. So that seems to be Mando's struggle. Yeah. One
Yeah.
criticism that we did have with Mandalorian, I think it was particular season two, where we wanted Mando to pretty much no longer have Grogu in there because we already had too much Grogu
Yeah.
with Mando, and I definitely think that by season three, yeah, we definitely should not focus too much because if the focus in season three is going to be on Grogu again, then that definitely is, well, let's just say it's gonna bring that old criticism again. So there's that. I wouldn't mind maybe 1, 2 episodes seeing Grogu, but not the whole show. So there's that criticism. So there's that. So yeah.
Okay. Clint, let's get Clint's thought as well.
I was pretty fine with the scene. Like you said, the CGI for Luke. I thought it was like an actual improvement, and learning that it's the same guy who like did that video on YouTube improving the Luke's face in season 2. That was a big surprise and to like learn about. Yeah. Anyways, so I was pretty fine with the scene. Biggest one I have to say is of all of, like the characters that kind of make like appearances, I didn't expect to see Ahsoka, and that's kind of the point where I was thinking, well, this is a Filoni episode. I mean, it's not a Filoni episode without Ahsoka in some way. So yeah, you know.
I guess there's that. Yeah, I also didn't expect to see Ahsoka. So
Yeah.
it does answer the one question of if Ahsoka ever knew Luke Skywalker, and now we see, yeah, she does.
Yeah.
So there you go with that.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say that part's like pretty cool too. As much as although I would love to still see like Ahsoka and Luke actually meeting for the first time. That would be really kind of cool to see in a way, you know, because we do hear her talk a lot about how like, you know, like a lot about Anakin and stuff, and that, you know, and that was like a mix between, you know, amazing and heartwarming at the same time, you know, because you know she was his apprentice and he was like a big brother to her and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then having to meet his son is like, you just kind of wonder what that had to have been like, you know. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Ahsoka TV show would explore that one.
Yeah, I guarantee it will.
So there's that. Okay, so the Django finished with Luke and Grogu.
Yeah. So I must say that the Grogu thing might be connected with the Mandalorian for season 3. So we'll see what happens, but I'll explain my prediction for at the end. So Mando leaves the planet, and Grogu senses it's Mando, and then Grogu learns to jump and do all these different things. And Luke quotes Yoda and says, "Don't try, do." And Luke takes Grogu and does his famous acrobatic scene, like you have seen in Empire Strikes Back, and we see that again, so which was kind of cool. And then you hear this quote where it's like the feel the force around you, and throughout Grogu trains more with a remote droid, and Grogu starts leaping around, chasing frogs and going onto stones and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay, so Luke knows that the Mandalorian was here and will give the armor that Ahsoka gives to him at a later time. So later, Mando arrives at Tatooine and goes to Jabba's palace. And I think we should call it Boba's palace at this point. I don't know why I keep calling it Jabba's palace.
It is called
but it's Boba's palace at this point.
It is actually called
keep
Boba's
forgetting it.
palace.
Yeah.
So there's that.
But there's a meeting where Boba, Fennec Shan, his Power Rangers, and
the Spy Kids
and the Wookiee discuss the Pike Syndicate, and then Mando appears, and then Fennec says, "So now we have all the muscle," and I'm just like, "Wait, what?" Because like it's literally just like what, like less than 10 people, and it's like, "Oh, we have all the muscle," but there's like how many like dozens and dozens of Pike Syndicate people there are? Like there's an army out there, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's just fine. But then they decide, like, okay, like we need foot soldiers. So Mando goes to it's now a different name, Freetown. Freetown.
Yeah, Freetown.
This was where Cobb Vanth was from Mando season 2, and he wants aid with them. So he meets with the marshal. Mando gives the lowdown, and the marshal is pretty hesitant overall. So is the other people there. But he leaves, and Marshall decides to think about it some more.
Mm.
I have before we continue on with this, you realize how much I mentioned about Boba Fett in this discussion. I glossed over it quickly, but Boba doesn't say a word, and we get less than 1 minute with Boba Fett appearing.
He's not even wearing his helmet, fully armored. Not like, well, he is fully armored, but he's not even wearing his helmet. He's just like staring at a hologram. And like, Fennec Shan's the one saying the whole plan. Like, it should have been Boba Fett. Isn't he the crime lord? I guess this further shows how much he stinks as a crime lord.
Apparently, it's just like less than 10 people that will take on the Pike Syndicate, and I guess they'll have what soldiers from another place completely. Like, why not get people from that place?
Moses.
It just fucking A. Okay.
Uh, I think this shows how much the writers, aka Dave Filoni, John Favreau, they pretty much, and directors, they pretty much have given up on Boba Fett altogether. Like, honestly, like this. Well, I'm gonna get more elaborate at the end, but let's just say that yeah, this scene just tells me that they just put it there because they had to, and they just wanted to get back to Din Djarin and doing whatever. That's what it felt like. So yeah, Glenn.
Yeah, honestly, like with the Luke training Grogu scenes and stuff, that was actually pretty cool. That was actually like really like cool to see and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we finally get to see finally see more of like what Grogu's training is like and what Luke's mastership is like and stuff.
Which
At least prior to a certain movie that everybody hates, which I don't argue.
there,
But anyways,
well, not only that, but everyone wanted to see Luke Skywalker in his prime before the Last Jedi.
yeah, that too. Oh
So-
yeah, that too. I forgot about that.
So
Yes,
mhm.
but yeah, it was really cool to see him like in his prime. It was really cool seeing Luke in his prime, basically. So yeah.
Mhm.
As for the other stuff, like after that, it was also like cool to see as well. Despite Boba being, just a wall. I'm just gonna call him a wallflower. Fuck it.
Lol.
Which is pretty much what he was in the movies, anyways. So yeah. And then with Cobb Vanth again, that was really cool and stuff. And kind of seeing and also kind of learning about like the hesitation with the town and stuff of joining in on this next big thing and stuff. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and something I didn't mention before, I have to mention now is that Ahsoka talks to Luke one last time, and she just says that she's going to leave and do other things, but pretty much that sets up for Ahsoka TV series. So if you want to find out more, go watch the TV series coming up in a couple months.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and there's that. Yeah. So there's that.
Okay.
Django.
So Mando ends up leaving that village, and someone else appears much later from the sand, and it looks like they're preparing for a fight. There's just this lone figure, and it's pretty obvious who it is at this point. It's if you know TCW, you know Rebels, you know this character. It's Cad Bane.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall faces him down, and Cad tells Cobb to let things play out and stand down, and tells him you never should have given up your armor. And they have this face down. You also have his deputy, Cobb Vanth's deputy, on the side being freaking stupid as hell, provoking Cad Bane. But Cad Bane ends up shooting Cobb and shoots the deputy multiple times, which he deserves, to be honest, and says this town belongs to the Syndicate. And then he leaves from there. So let's talk about this scene.
Okay.
CJ?
So this, I actually thought it was a pretty cool scene. Like, it kind of reminded me a bit of the, those Western type media that portrays, like people with the revolvers, the hats in the old West, ready to duke it out in a, well, let's just say in a gunfight, like that. That's pretty cool. Like, I think that's cool, especially considering that Cobb Vanth and Cad Bane are pretty damn good quick shooters. So it was definitely awesome. So yeah, Clint.
Yeah, I'd have to say that scene was actually really cool. And now, despite not being a big surprise as Ahsoka, this actually was also still quite a surprise, but kind of one I saw coming because I kind of figured that Cad Bane was going to be inevitable to probably appear in this show. Yeah, but seeing him appear was kind of a surprise, but also not as big of a surprise as I would have thought of it to be. So yeah, it was like amazing to see Cad Bane in live action for the first time and stuff. Yeah.
There's that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I gotta mention. Yeah, it is cool finally to see Cad Bane in live action. So that too.
Yeah.
So there's that. The Django.
Yeah, so I'm not too familiar with TCW or Rebels or anything like that, but seeing him, this menacing looking figure from like a west straight up from a western, and Star Wars itself draws much inspiration from old school westerns, which I love westerns back in the day. I still do.
Mm.
That inspiration into the films and the characters, and even one of the Kenobi novels by John Jackson Miller is fantastic. I love it. Most of that is just a straight up Western, so I'm hoping, hey, Kenobi TV series, become like that, hit hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, it fits because Tatooine is a desert planet, and you want to have that Western theme into it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it makes the most sense. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's just me. So next we go to Garza's place, and at this point we kind of saw this coming. But the Pike Syndicate there, they drop something off, they leave. I think we know what it is, and it blows up the cantina. Honestly, I could care two shits about the cantina because the cantina has just been like we've just been going there constantly and doing nothing with it, except for
Yeah,
that one fight with the Wookiee. But I feel nothing for the cantina blowing up because it was a meaningless place.
yeah.
CJ?
So I was gonna mention that this is indicative of of a bigger problem with the TV show as a whole, but basically wasted potential on several elements that were established in the earlier episodes. So, and this cantina is one of them. They could have done a bit more, but instead it was just used for basically filler at this point. It didn't really do much in the previous episodes, and now it's just been completely erased. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel anything when that place blew up, like because like it never wrote the characters or any of the people there because it's like we barely get any time in that place where like I cared nothing when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
For my thoughts on that scene personally, it's kind of a little more different from your guys's. I was a little surprised to see that they actually blew the cantina up, honestly. But at the same time, I didn't have too much of a connection with these characters, and I'm more just kind of left like thinking, well, damn, they should have just developed these characters more so I could actually care a little bit more about them and stuff. They could have done more with these. Yeah, that's kind of the thing I kind of that kind of bugs me when they just do stuff like this. Sometimes it's like they bring you these new characters and stuff, and you think, huh, these characters could be interesting in the future. But then as soon as you know it, they just get killed off, and that's pretty much just the end of it from there. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
Like as much as as a surprise as it was also just disappointing to think like, well, damn, like, well, damn, they just totally wasted these characters and the potential that they could have had.
Mm-hmm.
And or even not just with the characters, just like even with like the setting and stuff, this new cantina and such. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now it's wrecked. So yeah. Django, get to the final scene, cause so that way we can go full in detail.
Okay. So we go back to Luke and Grogu, and Luke shows that there's a Mando armor for him, and Luke gives him a choice: take the armor and you can go back to Mando, but you would never become a Jedi, or take the lightsaber of Yoda himself and become an epic Jedi. And he gives him that choice, and the episode ends from there, with Grogu not deciding outright, but I think we know where this is going, and plus that they're most likely going to bring him back with Mandalorian season 3, picking the Mando armor instead of becoming this great Jedi for the future. It's written on the walls. Plus, it sells toys as well.
Well, that too. So yeah, okay. I have a few issues with this scene. Number one, and this is definitely a fact. Yoda's lightsaber was completely destroyed in one of the comics from Disney Star Wars from 2017. Darth Vader issue 1 2017. It was destroyed, and this episode has completely retconned that. So once again, we got another contradiction in this timeline. Not a surprise. Say Star Wars already done 3 videos in regards to Star Wars contradictions in timeline, so this one should be added to the list. So that's one. Number two, I'm like wondering why is Luke making this choice. Some are speculating that maybe Luke has some more like oh he's like the choices are not really true, like he's just testing Grogu or something, and he's not really actually making Grogu like actually choose the life of a lone wanderer of Mando or the life of a Jedi, like he's just like testing him or something.
That's
And
dumb. No, he's giving him a choice.
yeah, he's giving him a choice, and this to me is like, wait, this reeks of old Jedi Order mentality, where basically they don't like that Jedi have any sort of attachments to anything, but including loved ones. And this is something that Luke Skywalker himself had completely foregone and just not brought back for his new Jedi Order in the expanded universe. He actually saw attachments as something powerful that could be used to further keeping the light side. In fact, he has a strong attachment to his family, so he by himself already is breaking the old Jedi Order teachings. But that's why he pretty much ditched what didn't work of the old Jedi Order in order to make his new one better. But this of making him choose between the two choices is like, wait, so you're thinking now like the old Jedi Order? Like seriously? I can see why Ahsoka could think this because she was trained, during the prequels with Anakin Skywalker and Jedi Temple. Like I can understand her thinking that attachments can be a problem. But Luke, there's no reason he should be thinking this way, especially given what we see in the original trilogy and how much he truly cares about his family. In fact, that attachment was what made Darth Vader redeem to the light side and save him in episode 6. So I don't understand why he's making this Grogu have these two choices. Why not just train him to be a Jedi, but Grogu could still use the Beskar armor for any sort of battles in the future and still have something for, well, maybe at least have some of them and more for Mando saying, oh yeah, he does at least still care about me. That's cool. And he wants me to continue with the Jedi training or something. Like encourage Grogu, like yeah, Mando, he cares about you, so he gives you this so for any future battles, and he definitely wants you to go ahead with your Jedi training. But no, instead it's like you have to choose one or the other. Like, come on. I think Grogu could have easily taken both things. Come on. Like,
That's a really good point. I agree with you there, because it's like,
Yeah, even I would agree with that.
yeah, it's like you have that choice of attachment. Like you can still be a Mandalorian and a Jedi at the same time, but actually value the Jedi Order a little bit more. And Luke saw that. Like we've seen that in the past. I mean, that was a prime thing in the original trilogy, and you kind of just it seems like you're throwing it all away. But anyway, Clint, why don't you give your thoughts?
Yeah, this part I will say was actually was kind of like how do I say bizarre, Like it was just like I don't know, it was just like why would Luke kind of go more sound very old Jedi Order-ish, Like and also or even like why would Luke or at least at this time or technically why would Luke at this time sound this way, or something like that. I don't know. Hang on.
Like give him no choice at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of odd, honestly. It like I said, it was just like it was kind of bizarre, but it was just like I'm pretty sure, like that he's gonna. I was very, very sure like he was going to like he was probably going to definitely choose like the best scar, but at the same time I thought why couldn't he just have both? It's like you have to give him this ultimatum stuff. It's like Luke, I thought you were not for that stuff half the time. I mean, like maybe in some areas, but not entirely with certain things, like making people to choose something. Like oh, choose this or choose that. It's like and also I'm sorry, Luke, but with that logic of like saying like okay, you can either have this Beskar chainmail or you can have this lightsaber that belonged to Jedi Master Yoda, which strangely wasn't destroyed. Which, by the way, during that part, I was just going, wait a minute, wasn't that destroyed in the comic book? Like literally, I remember like that those panels and stuff from that, and so I was like, what? It's like I didn't even read the comic, but I just knew what those panels were and stuff. And I was like, wait, didn't that get destroyed?
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, well, that's a retcon, I guess, or something like that. Anyways, to my point, it's like, okay, you're leaving him with these two cool choices. It's like giving a kid like two cool like things, like okay, you get to have you get to have the lollipop, you get to have this really like you get to have like this bag of candy, or you get to have this cute teddy bear or something like that. And you're leaving him with these two things that he really would want, and you're leaving him with like a choice. Just like say, why not both? Now, granted, yeah, sure, like maybe it's because okay, you're leaving them with the choice to take one or the other, just for the sake of like because he can't afford two. But in this case, he's literally just giving them two things that he could literally just have, like for for both. Like he could just literally just have for free and stuff. Like two cool things, like Beskar chainmail and a lightsaber. It's like, come on, you can't give him that combo.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually would take more the best card because that shit is harder to come by. Whereas a lightsaber, if you're training for a Jedi, you can literally create your own. So there's that too.
Good point. That's a good point. Like literally, I guarantee you, Grogu's gonna choose the Beskar, and he's definitely probably gonna make his own lightsaber eventually.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So in terms of practicality, it also makes no sense for Luke to be doing these two choices. It literally is just like, oh, you're choosing one life over the other. Like, come on, like this is just. I think this is just made for suspense for us to make us wait for Mando season 3. I think this is what it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I strangely just thought of like making this meme. Okay, you guys know the congratulations, you just played yourself meme, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought of that, like what we were talking about there with Grogu wanting to make his own, choosing the Beskar, and making his own lightsaber. So I just thought of a freaking meme on that spot right there, of it just being like, when you choose the Beskar and then make your own lightsaber, Grogu to Luke, congratulations, you just played yourself. Anyways, that's just want to get that out of the way. Anyways, back to you, Django.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, we all see this coming, where this is going, but he's going to pick the Beskar armor because of everything we've seen from his connection with Mando, and it's a deep connection, and he hasn't let it go. And we're going to see that storyline again with Mandalorian season 3. It's going to be happening at this point, the way it's going right now. They both can't let each other go, and they both need each other so badly. But I mean, I just think that they both haven't evolved from that point. Like, you would think that you would see evolution where they have to let themselves go and then, forge their own paths from there. But no, we have to see them connect again. And of course, this is for more toys and stuff like that because Grogu sells. Everybody loves Grogu.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and we definitely prefer them to actually grow up. I mean, I'd be fine with Mando giving him the chainmail armor and saying his goodbyes, kid. We continue your training. Maybe in the future, some years later, we may see each other again. But for now, you're where you belong. You need to focus on your training. Like, even that would be good enough for me. But of course, it seems that they want Grogu to go with Mando for season 3, which we're back to square one, I guess. So
yeah, it was okay. Two things I would like to bring up on my personal thoughts is like I just like first off, it would be pretty odd like if Grogu chooses the Beskar and then then Luke just like pulls like a that's okay, that's what I would have done, that's what I would have like done, and in the terms of like with like that's what I would have done. I chose to save my father and yada yada. When you clearly went off on doing this ultimatum stuff on his ass and stuff. And then secondly, can I just say that I think this feels more problematic. Like this feels a bit more problematic than okay. Before I head into more of this is going to be a little controversial, but do I think that this is a little more problematic than how Luke was in The Last Jedi? Because personally, it's like because you could try and fix that because like you try and like fix the explanation to what leads to Luke being how he is in The Last Jedi. Now, don't get me wrong, the handling of Luke was very poor execution in my book. But I would be very forgiving to it more if they actually had a proper setup, in a sense, you know? And in this case, it's like, I feel this is more problematic because it just more seems like they should have just kept him being like, they should have like had it in a way where he was like, you know, where he like devolves into this. Like Luke in his prime is like for like all this stuff and all that. But then something devolves him to being a little more corrupt in his own image or something like that, and that makes him turn or something like that. But that's it. That's just me. That's my speculation, and that's kind of what I thought of. That's just something I just like thought of and stuff. But yeah, that's it. And it's all right. You know, it's all right if you disagree and stuff. Anyways,
In my case, I actually think it's a bit of an extension to what he will become in The Last Jedi. A failure in teaching students, especially he's pretty much doing the same mistakes that the old Jedi Order did. So this to me is actually more of an extension. So I actually kind of connect them a bit together. So there's that. But yeah, so in regards to this choice, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me in multiple levels. In particular, the characterization of Luke Skywalker. So it is a problem. So yeah, so that's what I think even in regards to this. But I have more issues but I have a bigger issue involving this and other parts of this show, which I want to get to. But so the Django, any final thoughts on this scene before we move on to full thoughts?
No.
Okay, Clint?
that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, so now we get into the full thoughts of this episode, and boy, do we have plenty. The Django, do you want to go first, or you want to let me do it, or Clint?
CJ, why don't you do it?
Okay, so this whole episode. So I did like the episode. I like the parts of seeing Luke with Grogu. I like seeing Ahsoka Tano interact with Luke Skywalker. I like seeing Mando handle giving the Beskar armor. And a choice at the end was on the conflicting scientist what I had to think, but it was still interesting. So there's that. And I also like seeing Cobb Banff with Din Djarin. No issues there. But did you guys notice how we literally were talking about anything but Boba Fett for like 95%?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is a huge, huge problem when the main character of your show, the one that's in the title, fails to attract attention of the audience to the point in which it literally devolves into being about anybody but Boba Fett is a problem. And while Henson was not here to do the podcast with us, I did manage to get in touch with him a day ago, yesterday. And what he told me about this show and what I've seen the reactions from the internet, it just proved to me that this show was a failure. That everyone is interested in Din Djarin and Luke Skywalker training Grogu and what Ahsoka Tano is going to be doing and what happened to Cobb Banff and Cat Bane. They were interested in anything but Boba Fett and the Pike Syndicate. At this point, it's like that plot about the Book of Boba Fett that was set up in episodes 3 and 4 about the Pike Syndicate and everything, literally, nobody gives a shit about it. Like, nobody. You can go online right now, and everyone is just way more interested in at this point, in Mandalorian Season 3. They're just done with Book of Boba Fett. I don't see any hype for Episode 7. Maybe Tamora Morrison kind of hyping it up in social media, but that's pretty much it. Like, nobody cares about Boba Fett in his own TV show at this point. They don't care, and certainly me and the Django don't care anymore. Like, this show's a failure. It's a complete and utter failure. It had potential to redeem the mistakes that episode 3 did, and it was getting there with episode 4, but it just completely lost its focus with episodes 5 and 6, and those episodes easily should have been in Mandalorian Season 3. Hell, I'll say this. You can literally skip episodes 1 to 4 and just watch 5 and 6 and go straight to Mandalorian Season 3. No joke. You can literally skip the rest of the episodes of Book of Boba Fett and just focus on 5 and 6 and watch Mando Season 3 from there. You can literally do that. Like, the rest of the show is meaningless if you just care about Din Djarin and Grogu. Like, literally. Like, it's useless. And if you just want to see the good shit about Book of Boba Fett, just watch episodes 1 to 4. Skip 5 to 7. Like, that is a problem. When the best parts of Book of Boba Fett is just the first half of it, episodes 1, 2, 4, 3 sucked, but at least it still was dealing with with Boba Fett. Like when that's the best part of the show, and you can literally just cut it at episode 4, and 5, 6, and 7 are just useless for the show itself. That is a big problem. And when 2 episodes of the show can literally be just seen on their own and then jump to another TV show, that is also another problem. Like this complete loss of focus is just really, really terrible. It should never, ever, ever be done to a future Disney Star Wars TV show, and I hope to God they don't do it again. And I know that there's like 10 to 11 TV shows that are gonna be releasing by Disney Star Wars. What, like Ahsoka, Cassian Andor, and what else? Fires of the New Republic. Like what shows are there going to come out, guys? Like what shows?
Andor, Mandalorian season 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ahsoka is next year.
Yeah, Ahsoka.
I think, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I got here the list. So they're doing Andor, Kenobi, Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, The Acolyte, Lando, and A Droid Story. Okay, so we got like 7 shows. They better do not make the same mistake of literally losing the complete focus of the TV show and just pretty much doing episodes for other shows. Don't do that again, because if you do it again, then that only tells to me that the show is automatically a failure. Like, do not do it again. So, yeah, that's what I gotta say. So, the Django, I think you probably want to build up on that. So, go ahead.
Yeah. So this show is what I would describe as wasted potential, because episodes 1 to 2 seem to be picking up and getting really good, hyping up the show. Episode 2 for me is still the best, even though episode 5 is it's not even Book of Boba Fett, it's The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
But it's after episode 2, it just went downhill. It's no longer Boba Fett's show, and just the way they're writing Boba Fett is it's a disgrace at this point. They said they were fans of Boba Fett, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it at this point, because they're showing him as kind of just a non-intelligent leader, just filled with ideas in his head that just don't come to fruition. And it's mostly Fennec Shan who's kind of picking up the pieces for him. And if they called this the Fennec Shan show, I'd be all in. Okay, if they focused on the perspective of Fennec Shan, hell yeah, I'd be all in. I think it would be a much better show. But for what I'm seeing right now, it's not coming to fruition at all. And I think this episode just reinforces where it's just splitting off into different shows. It's setting up for different shows, and it's not even setting up for the freaking main character of this, Boba Fett, who's now a side character at this point. He's a freaking joke. And I'd say like the first half of this episode, I thought it was a little boring, to be honest, with the Jedi stuff. The first 5 minutes was good, and I just like the Cobb Vanth stuff. I like seeing his character again, and seeing the appearance of Cad Bane. That was pretty cool. Those were the really interesting parts, the more Western parts for me. But Boba Fett in himself is like a Western character. He's like this, this outlaw of sorts, you could say, and bounty hunter. And he belongs in this Western setting. But now they make him just like this crime lord, ineffectual crime lord, and they don't really focus on him at all. It's a joke. It's a complete joke what they're doing with Boba Fett, and I don't see the next episode coming to fruition, because the next episode is going to be directed by, once again, Robert fucking Rodriguez. He's done 3 episodes at this point directing this TV series, and this is well, let's see how this comes up. But one of the 2 has actually been good, if not decent. The second was just terrible, but the third one, we'll see. But I don't have faith or confidence that he's going to pick up the pieces and make it an actually with really awesome action and stuff. I just don't see it. I'd love to be wrong, but it's just he's shown like the good and bad. Like mostly just we're now seeing just the bad out of him, and hopefully he doesn't make it out to be like all the Power Rangers coming up here, and make Boba Fett actually have like just good fighters in his ranks, not just fucking Power Rangers and shit. It's just I want this show to be over with and just focus on other stuff at this point, because there's other TV shows out there that are worth my attention, and so far this one It's just not at this point. I'm done with this after episode 7.
Mm-hmm. Glenn?
Hmm. Well, what do I say? I have to say this episode was good, but for the fact that isn't really or feels like an episode of Book of Boba Fett, it's just kind of bizarre, you know. Like just no, it's pretty much just my thoughts on how I felt with the last episode. Pretty much, really, you know, it was just odd, you know. And for the series as a whole, as we're reaching toward the last episode, I have to say, I have to say, despite not having it, despite like you know liking the show, I will have to say at the same time it's kind of disappointing. Not gonna lie, because of the fact that it's you know barely about Boba Fett. Honestly, yeah, I really do hate saying that honestly because I do actually like a lot of stuff from the show, but however, it is disappointing for the fact that it's like that this show really doesn't feel like Boba Fett's show in a sense, you know. Heck, with these past 2 episodes, it really was just like it was just more of just Mandalorian season 3 and stuff, or even just or at least build up to it. And the fact that it's like, and the fact that the show just kind of sidelines Boba and stuff and doesn't make him go all out and stuff, or just even in any ways be like Boba Fett is just kind of you know it's just disappointing, you know. And whether this show does get a season 2 or not, I'm not even sure. I wouldn't even be sure if it will or not.
I
But if it
doubt it.
does, I damn sure hope that the second season would be an improvement from this season.
I
But we'll see, honestly.
I actually think we won't. And here's why. Did you guys get the feeling watching episodes 5 and 6 or even 4 in a few areas? Did you guys feel the sense that the writers and directors they just like given up on the show, like that they already did the flashbacks, so it's like, oh, we're already done with the flashbacks, there's nothing more to tell about Boba Fett or his crime story, let's just do anything else, let's do Din Djarin now. Like, did you guys get
Yep.
that feeling?
Yep.
Kind of do in a way.
Cause yeah, like if you ask me, it seems like this show, the only real reason was to tell those flashbacks. Because the crime lord stuff is just flat out useless at this point. Given that there's just one more episode's coming out and nobody gives a shit about that final fight with the Pike Syndicate. So the whole crime lord stuff was completely wasted. The real reason for this show was the flashbacks to tell them. That was the purpose. And once they were done with it, they had like nothing else in mind to do for Boba Fett. They just completely sidelined him, and they decided to make the episodes be all about Din Djarin instead, and setting up Mandalorian season 3. Like that's what it seems to be. What to me? What do you guys think?
I would agree. I would agree honestly, and personally, I think as much as I was okay with what they were doing with like being like of like going back and forth with flashbacks in the present day and stuff, I really do think they should have just kept it in the past. Honestly, you know, they should have
Agreed.
just kept in Boba's past, and then like probably somewhere like at the end maybe or something like have Boba like wake up from being in the back to tank and from healing in the back to tank, and then show him in show him like doing crime lord shit or whatever. But mostly I'd say they should have just kept it like in the past, you know. That's what they should have done, you know, just kept in the past, show us like how he got out and what he's been doing for those past 6 years and stuff. And yeah,
Yeah, I
what they
agree.
should have done.
Yeah, I agree. The show should have only focused on the flashbacks and not even done anything about the crime lord stuff. What do you think, Django?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you guys. It's just that that's the more interesting bits, the flashbacks,
Yeah.
and the present time stuff is just so redundant and boring and defeats the character of Boba Fett that it defeats the purpose of even watching the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, like I said, you know, I know the chances of a season 2 aren't going to really happen because of the ratings the show has been getting. But if it ever, if there ever was, I'd like to see this be the premise. Boba Fett decides to just quit on being a crime lord, and gives it to Fennec, and then he goes and does like tries to like rebuild his name as a bounty hunter again. That's pretty
Please.
much that's the premise and summary that I would say if there was to be a season 2 of this show, which is in the air, but is probably not going to happen.
I
One
yeah.
could dream.
Well, yeah, we can dream. So yeah, so that's what it seemed to me. That it was just they just wanted to tell the flashbacks. The present stuff was literally nothing but filler, and at this point, it's worthless. And I don't even if episode 7 is really freaking good, I don't think it will change anything. To be honest, everyone no longer cares about Book of Boba
Yeah,
Fett at this point. They don't give a shit about the Pike Syndicate battle. They don't care about seeing Boba Fett as a crime lord or him in this show whatsoever. Like they don't care. They just want Mando season 3 at this point. And so even if the last episode's pretty good, somehow it's pretty good, it won't do anything. Like this show's reception and how it performed, like it's the writing's on the wall. This show's a failure. It already is. So
yeah.
nothing's gonna change that.
It's failed a bit.
hmm It's
Yeah,
a
it's failed.
it's a failure. So there's nothing that will
Yeah.
change that. Pretty much in there. And in regards to Tamora Morrison and Ming Na Wen, so after Book of Boba Fett, what are they gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do after this show? Like, because the chances of season 2 for Book of Boba Fett are freaking low, and the episode 7 is not gonna redeem anything at this point. So, what do you guys think will happen after this?
And honestly, I don't know. I just hope that they still are kept relevant. I just hope that they are kept still pretty relevant. With whatever that's Star Wars. Like with whatever that's Star Wars, like whether it be fandom or next future project, what have you.
There's that. The Django?
Yeah, I see them making maybe like one or two appearances in The Mandalorian, but that's it. I don't really see them like appearing again. Maybe just tiny cameos here and there, but I just don't see them having like a clear presence ever again. Like, which is going to be a shame because
Yeah,
especially with Ming-Na Wen. She was the clear standout. But the
yeah,
way that Tamora Morrison is treated with Boba Fett, I think, is a big disgrace too.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. It was a disgrace. And I also have to wonder something now that you mentioned that, the Django. Like, I have to mention, what was the thought process of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau when they made Boba Fett appear in Mando season 3 in all those appearances? I'm wondering, like, what did they think they would do with Boba Fett with his own TV show at the time? And now that we see what happened, like, is this how they wanted to make the TV show all along? Or did they literally just run out of ideas or got lazy at the end or just didn't give a shit at the end? Like, what the hell happened? Like, what happened? Like, I seriously am wondering what the fuck happened. Especially seeing how they portrayed Boba Fett as an absolute badass in Mando Season 2. Like, what the fuck happened?
Um, yeah, I mean that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know what goes on in their head, so I couldn't tell you. But it just seems like to me that they did run out of ideas, didn't know what else to do with Boba Fett. But in that
Yeah.
case, like just do those last two episodes for after Book of Boba Fett, or do it like a separate like mini series or something, two episodes right before Mandalorian or something like that. Like that would have been fine. But the way they did the interjected in here is just so forced to me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. I honestly have no clue like what was going on behind the scenes and stuff. So it's pretty much up in the air with me, like what was going on and with writing wise and stuff for this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if we can find some video, some behind the scenes or something, especially for when we do our podcast on chapter 7, I'll definitely mention what we found there if I've found any info on behind the scenes. But as of this point, there's not really much that we can tell in terms of what happened behind the scenes, at least on the writing and planning process of the show. So maybe Mando season 2 behind the scenes we could actually get some grasp of what they were thinking when including Boba Fett, as well as the end for Mando season 2, which in retrospective that ending pretty much only set us up for failure. God, oh God, that ending that was pretty interesting. Mando season 2 now now that ending is just like, oh god, the ending that was setting up a failure of a TV show that just blows. Not good, not cool. But yeah, so if I can find any behind the scenes info for chapter 7, I'll relay it there and see what was the thought process in there, and then we can discuss in detail about it, so to see what went wrong. So there's that. But yeah, so that's all I can say. So anyway, so guys, you got anything else to say on this episode or Book of Boba Fett as a whole at this point?
No.
I've pretty much said my piece.
Okay, well, the Django, you can end it now.
Okay. Well, that was our discussion of episode 6. We'll be back to review the last episode, which should be a good one, directed by Robert Rodriguez. So you know it's going to be a great episode. And so we'll be back to review that episode, and hopefully it redeems the entirety of the show. So we'll see how it goes. But until then, we'll see you guys on the next podcast. Take care.
Bye.
Laters.